Hey guys, Dan here and welcome to the vlog. I've had a number of people ask me about another great passion of mine, which is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Kalima! Idiot. So if you're a guitar player and you're looking to give this a try, there are a few things to be aware of. So here are my 5 top tips for guitarists who train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Let's go train. I found Jiu-Jitsu about 6 years ago. It was a very stressful period in my life and I was struggling with weight. I'd never done any sport ever in my life, so to discover it at that age was a really big deal for me and it's helped me enormously. There was a point, however, when I discovered that it was really affecting my hands. So most of the tips we're going to be looking at today will revolve around your hands because they have such a massive role in the way that you train. Why do so many people find Jiu-Jitsu so tough on their hands?
The grips, they are a very important part of the Jiu-Jitsu because with a good grips, we can control someone. Depends where I'm grabbing, can be on the collar, on the sleeve, but the grips makes a lot of difference. So when you start in doing Jiu-Jitsu, there is a part you have to learn when you're supposed to be grab strong and when you have to let it go. That's when you can damage your joints or not, because it's an important part, control and grip strong, have a strong grip, but it's a part of the learning, know when to let it go.
Yeah, right. So there's very much a Jiu-Jitsu philosophy about knowing when to use your strength and when to conserve your energy. And that does take time. But one thing that I found really helpful in making sure that your hands don't get damaged is taping your fingers. So I've found that taping my fingers has been the difference between me being able to train Jiu-Jitsu and not training Jiu-Jitsu. And it's really simple. There are loads of different ways to do it. If you look up finger taping for Jiu-Jitsu on YouTube, you see a bunch of different things. Lots of guys will tape the first 2 parts of the finger. I actually tape all 3 like this, and it's not overly tight, but it's firm, and it just gives a bit of resistance when I'm grabbing and stops me from over grabbing or using too much strength. When I first started having trouble with my hands, I genuinely thought I was going to have to quit Jiu-Jitsu because it got to a point where I couldn't play guitar, and taping my fingers has literally made all the difference in the world. So the second tip is to make sure you are training no-gi as well as training in the gi. And basically that means training with a rash guard and shorts or gi pants. The reason for this is that the grips are really different. You're still developing your Jiu-Jitsu technique, but instead of shutting things down with grips like you would in rolling with the gi, we're concentrating on wrists and cupping behind the head, and it's a very different sort of rolling. It's much faster, but one great aspect of no-gi rolling is it is easier on your hands, so make sure you are training no-gi as well as gi. So tip number 3 is something I found really interesting, and it's about developing the muscles in the back of your hand as well as the muscles in the front of your hand. This is something I found when I was studying music at the Conservatorium of Music in Australia. It's a technique that I picked up off the classical guitar players, and they would sit down and they would do this on the table, or they'd have their guitar, and on the back of the guitar they'd sit down and they'd be doing this. And basically, it comes from a thing called rasguados technique that flamenco players use. And as they strum like this, what's happening is they're naturally developing the muscles in the back of their hand as well as the muscles to clench. Practicing your rasguados technique, I found it can just be on the table. You can just be doing it on your hands. Just a couple of minutes each day, but I've found that has really helped get rid of any soreness I have in my hands. Tip 4 is about stretching and massage. Now, really simple finger stretches are so helpful, stretching the wrist. We all know that yoga is fantastic for Jiu-Jitsu, helping keeping you supple and stretching out the main muscles that we use while we're rolling. But as a musician, it's so important that you apply that to your fingers and your hands as well. The other thing to be aware of is that when you are gripping, it's not just the muscles in your hand that you're using. It's the muscles and tendons that go up inside your arm. There's a thing called golfer's elbow and tennis elbow. It depends whether the tension is on the inside or outside of your forearm. But a really great way to relieve that is just getting a golf ball and just rubbing on the forearm and breaking up where those matted fibers in the muscles are. Tip 5, and this is arguably the most important. Keep practicing the guitar. My rule is if I train for an hour, I will come home and practice for an hour. When I first found Jiu-Jitsu, I was in bad shape. I was overweight, I was unfit. But finding Jiu-Jitsu, I got in shape, it cleared my head. It was just so much fun. And it really became part of my lifestyle. But what happened was, because I was training so much, my hands were becoming like claws. And I was developing all this strength and I was losing that fine motor skill that we develop as guitar players. So I made a deal with myself. Every time I train for an hour, I practice for an hour. And that has made all the difference. So now Jiu-Jitsu has actually been really good for my guitar playing. Because of my increased grip strength, I've actually gone up a string gauge and it feels great, it sounds amazing. So keep practicing. If you train for an hour, practice for an hour, and I promise you it will make all the difference.
So that's the challenge, and especially when you start Jiu-Jitsu, when you're supposed to hold strong, super strong, and when you have to lose it to do the transition for another grip.
Just developing that instinct for when to grip and when to let go is a big part of that.
100%. Yeah. Because that's what can make different the choke, but make it different for your joints as well. And with the time, you start to have strong joints, strong fingers. But 100%, it's a big part of learning. You know when grab strong and when let it go.
Well, there you go. I hope you found that at least mildly interesting. If you're a guitar player and you're looking to get into Jiu-Jitsu, or you do Jiu-Jitsu already, these tips will really help you look after your hands. Thanks so much. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.